Welcome friends. In this video we shall discuss about the Paleolithic age. The Paleolithic age means Old Stone Age. The term Stone Age implies that this was the time when the majority of tools etc. made by human ancestors were made of stone. The oldest stone tools that were found anywhere in the world are about 2.5 million years old, and that is when the Stone Age begins. Here we are talking about the early time of the Pleistocene epoch. The Stone Age is roughly divided into three time periods. The Old Stone Age, which is the Paleolithic and what we are discussing today. The Middle Stone Age is called Mesolithic era, and this is the zone of transition from the Old Stone Age to the New Stone Age. And the New Stone Age, which is known as the Neolithic age, is when our ancestors discovered agriculture. So let's focus on today's topic, the Paleolithic era. Before we begin, here is the brief outline of some of the previous year questions that were asked in the mains exam from this topic. Feel free to pause the video and note down these questions for future reference. We will of course try to cover all these questions in the consecutive videos on this topic. So the Paleolithic era or the Old Stone Age is further divided into three stages based on the technological advances our ancestors made. In Lower Paleolithic, the technique of tool making was very primitive and simple. In Middle Paleolithic, the tool making technique refined and changed, and finally in Upper Paleolithic the tool making technique advanced further, along with the evidence of enhanced cognitive capabilities such as development of art etc. Let's first discuss about the earliest part of the Paleolithic, that is the Lower Paleolithic. First, let's try to understand who were those hominins who lived in the Paleolithic time and a broad outline of their life and culture. Amongst the earliest stone tools that we have found, one of the most important sites is the Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. Olduvai Gorge was discovered accidentally by a German entomologist while he was chasing a species of butterfly in 1911. The type of stone tools that we have found here are categorized under the term Oldovan industry. But who made the Oldovan tools? Around the time these tools were made, there were several hominins living in the world and who had the gracility to make these kind of tools. And all these species of hominins are contenders in this regard as to who made the tools of the Oldovan industry. These hominins were in the early times Australopithecus africanus, Australopithecus ethiopicus, Australopithecus garhi, or an indeterminate hominin species which we yet have not discovered. And during the later times, Homo habilis, Homo rudolfinensis, Australopithecus bolsei and robustus, and possibly Homo ergaster and Homo erectus. The Oldovan tools are simple and made with a simple percussion flaking technique, which means this technique means that one stone is struck with another stone. It's very simple. The flakes that were produced in the process were probably used too, but majority of Oldovan tools are made of the core stone, that is a stone that was principal stone which was struck on to shape it like a tool. The tools found in Oldovan consist mainly of choppers made with the core stone, a few flakes and stones used as hammers. Now, how did the people of Oldovan live? Some workers like Lawrence Keeley have examined the tools under high power microscopes and found that some of these tools were used to chop meat. Some animal bones found nearby also indicate similar markings. But how did they obtain these animals? Were they active hunters or merely scavenged already dead animals? There is some disagreement among the experts on this matter. While experts like Lewis Binford and others argue that they were scavengers, they obtained the carcasses of already dead animals. Experts like Henry Bunn, Manuel Dominguez Rodrigo, and others have shown that they actively hunted. They have developed a model known as early access model or early access theory. What the early access theory essentially states that the hominins had access to the meatiest and the most nutritious parts of the carcass. They have shown this based on the tool markings on the bones of the carcass, and they also state that this can only happen if the hominins, they have hunted the animal themselves or successfully drove off the predator away before that predator could eat its kill. So regardless, it is likely that the bulk of their food was plant based and meat formed a smaller portion. It is also not certain if these people had any home bases. Experts like Mary Leakey did identify some areas which appeared to be similar to modern hunter-gatherer camps. It is not clear whether people actually stayed at these areas year long or these areas were merely preferred gathering points. But based on behavior of modern apes, it is quite possible that they constructed a kind of nest-like area with temporary structures. Kathy Schick called these areas favored places. But it is quite certain that the hominins moved all year around because the areas which were described as home bases, they were not occupied year long. And in the hominin population during that era shows seasonal migration. In later times during the Lower Paleolithic, the technique to make tools advanced and the tool became finer, more structured and well designed. These newer kind of tools were first discovered from Saint Achille in France, and the culture is known as Acheulean culture. So who were the probable hominins who made these tools? The Acheulean industry is associated with Homo ergaster or Homo erectus. This industry surely developed from Oldowan technique, but the designs were specific and the shapes were predefined. Now the removal of flakes was done by softer and more refined blows, and more flakes were removed. The core tools still dominated the Acheulean industry, and the most characteristic tool of this industry is the hand axe. The hand axe is a teardrop shaped bifacially flaked tool with a pointed tip. This tool appears to be multifunctional as a wide variety of various sizes have been found. They might have been used to chop, scrape wood, or as butcher tools, or even to throw at animals for hunting. Other large tools are cleavers and picks. The Acheulean industry remained relatively unchanged for a very long time period, from 1.76 million years ago till 2.5 lakh years ago. Initially, the hard hammer technique was used to manufacture tools, in which the stone was struck with another stone. But later, soft hammer technique was used. What it means is the stone was struck with a hammer made of a softer material, like bone, for example. And in later years, Acheuleans also started using more and more flake-based tools. In later years, Acheuleans used a special technique to produce flakes. It's called Levallois technique. In this, a core is prepared beforehand in such a way that when it is struck, it produces a predetermined size flake. Now, Levallois technique is crucial in making the flake-based tools, which become more frequent in the next stage of tool making. So how was the life of Acheuleans? It is noteworthy that sites like Toralb and Ambrona, bones of big animals like elephants were found. So were the Acheulean people actually able to hunt these big animals, or were they just scavenging? It is certainly not clear, but these massive animals did form a part of their diet, that is for sure. There is some evidence of use of fire in Oldovan sites, but in case of Acheuleans, it is probably certain that they used fire. Fire could also have been used to scare animals into the traps as a hunting tactic, and clear evidence of Acheuleans using fire comes from the site as Gesher Benor Yaakov in Israel, where burnt seeds, wood, and stone arrangement suggestive of hearths was found. It is unfortunate that at this site, no skeletal remains of Homo ergaster or erectus were found. Thus, though it is a very strong evidence, it is not 100% certain. But on the other hand, it is also noteworthy that Homo ergaster or Homo erectus could move to live in few of the coldest places on the earth, and this feat seems very unlikely without knowledge of fire. Acheuleans also had definite campsites. These campsites were located closer to water sources. Some camps were in caves, but most were in open space, and they were surrounded by rudimentary fortification. At the site of Terra Amara on French Riviera, evidence of huts has also been found. At some sites, remains of red ochre or geru has been found. Red ochre is significant in rituals in many modern cultures as well, and its presence is suggestive of existence of some ritual practices, although this evidence is too scanty to be absolutely certain that ritualistic practices or religion existed in the lives of the Acheuleans. H. Warren made an interesting discovery at Clacton-on-Sea in the English county of Essex. These deposits were around 4 lakh year old and different from the Acheulean industry. These finds are known as Clactonian culture or Clactonian industry. The tools of Clactonian industry were made by Homo erectus, and Clactonian tools consist of crude flake tools like crude knives and scrapers and choppers from the core. The flakes that are found in Clactonian industry are irregular in shape, and the core that remained after striking of the flakes was used as chopper.